Hello again, and happy Earth Day. Here's a little info about the final report, etc. There will be no final exam, as we agreed a while back. Course grades will be based on participation and reports. The final report can expand on your midterm topic or be related to your midterm topic if you wish, or you can pick something new, presumably something related to what we've done in the latter portion of the semester. But in any case, your final report blog post should be bloggish. It should have more than just words. It should have visual material, video embeds, hyperlinks, actually linking words and phrases to other sources that would be in lieu of footnotes, since this is not a paper, it's a blog post. And then when you go to publish, make sure after you push that publish button that the material did not spill over into the sidebar. If so, you're going to need to reformat, shrink some of the content, do whatever you got to do to make it look good on our page. So that's the final report. It's due on May the 5th. I encourage you to put up an early draft so that we all get a shot at giving you constructive feedback. It may be useful. You may also, though, wish to post a short final review of all the texts that we read in the semester. Bagini's very short introduction to atheism, neuroexistentialism, Caruso and Flanagan's compilation, This Life by Haglund, and Roos's book that we're now in the process of finishing. Just give a little review of what you took away from those texts, reflecting on what each has contributed to your present perspective on atheism, secularism, humanism, whatever ism you care to designate. That would be for extra credit and should be posted soon, ideally by Tuesday the 28th, the last scheduled class date this semester. But you may also choose to expand that review and make that your final report if you've not already settled on another topic, if you're not sure what you want to work on, but you think you'd like to review those texts. If you make it 15 words or more, in this case I am a little bit hung up on word count, then you can call that your final report. And you would have the option, you can go ahead and do it as an extra credit, shorter piece, and then decide over the course of the following week before the 5th of May that you would like to expand it and make that your final report. You've got until the 5th of May, in other words, to decide what you're doing for your final report. And so bear that in mind as an option. See how it goes when you try your hand at the extra credit project, if you're going to do that, and maybe you'll like that enough that you'll want to continue. If you want to get creative with the final review, here's a suggestion. Consider writing it in the form of a dialogue, featuring several of our authors. You get to choose from all of the authors, including those in neuroexistentialism, those whose views you found most engaging, infuriating, or in some other way worthy of continued attention. Get them together in an imaginary scenario. Say, meet up at your favorite coffee shop or the boulevard or wherever you would like to go, if social distancing weren't an issue. And talk to them and transcribe the imaginary conversation that you suppose you might have with them, raising the kinds of questions that we've been looking at over the course of this semester. Base their statements, their imagined statements, on quotes and paraphrases drawn from the texts. Try to be as accurate to what you take to be their views as possible, while also engaging them with your own views and your own questions. And document the sources in the texts parenthetically with an abbreviation. If you're quoting neuroexistentialism, I forget what our abbreviation was for that, but anyway, use the two-letter abbreviation followed by a page number, and that would suffice for citation. If you're using additional resources, you do some extra research beyond the texts that we have read, then all you would need to do is give us one good footnote, and then in that footnote introduce a little abbreviation that you can use parenthetically in the course of your dialogue. So What you want to do is have the authors interact with one another and with you, touching on the major themes that we have discussed. Meaning, evolution, existentialism, free will, naturalism, secularism, spirituality, all that stuff, all that good stuff. Have fun with that format if you choose to follow it, while being as faithful to the author's actual views as you can, as you understand them. Whichever report and or review options you select, the last draft is due May the 5th, but if you just want to do an extra credit review, that's due on Tuesday the 28th. You can still choose to expand and submit it as your final report on May the 5th if you decide you want to do that. All right, well, that's basically all I think I should need to tell you about the final report project. Let me know if you've got any questions about it. But since today is Earth Day, let's take a moment to think about that. I retweeted Greta Thunberg this morning, recalling her statement, "There is a tomorrow," and recalling the little talk I gave at the Honors College, which borrowed that statement, that phrase, and talked about the climate crisis. So what she says today is every day is Earth Day. Well, it ought to be. And she says the changes needed to safeguard future living conditions for all species won't come from governments or business. It will come from the best available science and public opinion, so it's up to us. Spread the science. Hashtag united behind the science. Good for her. Barack Obama also tweeted today, apropos of people like Greta. Not that there are that many, well, there are quite a few people like Greta, young people who are actively concerned and would be out in the streets celebrating Earth Day today if it were possible, at a safe distance. Obama tweeted, "We've all had to adapt to cope with a pandemic. Climate change will force far harsher changes for our kids. All of us should follow the young people who've led the effort to protect our planet for future generations and demand more of our leaders at every level now." 50 years after the first Earth Day, young activists are continuing the fight. And I got a whole bunch of stuff here in this little Earth Day post that I put up, starting with the Writer's Almanac this morning, which said today is Earth Day. The first observed in 1970, which I do remember. I had a 5th grade social studies teacher, a young woman fresh out of college who was way into Earth Day. It's probably where I got the bug originally. But its roots go back at least to the 1962 publication of Rachel Carson's The Silent Spring, exposing the effects of pesticides and other chemical pollution on the environment. During the late 1960s, Wisconsin Senator Gaylord Nelson had the idea to harness the energy and methods of the student protest against the Vietnam War to organize it as a grassroots conservation or ecological movement. At a press conference in 1969, he announced plans for a nationwide demonstration to take place the following spring. And on April the 22nd, 1970, it finally did. Government took notice, formed the EPA at Richard Nixon's instigation, or at least with his cooperation, and passed the Clean Air, Clean Water, and Endangered Species Acts. In 1990, on the 20th anniversary, organizer Dennis Hayes took Earth Day to the international arena and coordinated events in 141 countries worldwide, boosting the awareness and practice of recycling. The year 2000 marked the first time the event was coordinated on the internet, and the message was the need for clean energy to counteract climate change. According to the Earth Day Network, Earth Day is celebrated by 1 billion people, making it the world's largest secular holiday. All right, well, of course, this day, Earth Day 2020, 50th anniversary, was supposed to be a blowout birthday activist event, a celebration of the planet and a call to action to ensure the preservation of the planet as a sustainable and hospitable abode for our species. COVID-19 has ruined that, but every day should be Earth Day, as Greta said. And let me just remind you also, A and Peers, of what Martin Haglund said. In This Life, Secular Faith and Spiritual Freedom, he said, some see a fault line on, or I said, some see a fault line on climate between religion and secular humanism. Haglund said, climate change and the possible destruction of the earth cannot be seen as an existential threat from the standpoint of religious faith. If you have religious faith, you believe that all life can be terminated and yet what is truly valuable will remain. And if that's the case, then maybe you're not as invested in the health and sustainability of the earth as you ought to be. But as I told the Honors College audience back in early February, it seems like an eternity ago, on the other side of the pandemic, or our awareness of the pandemic, there's at least one prominent secular humanist who says that the climate crisis is larger than that. That would be E.O. Wilson, who in his book, The Creation, said, we have not met pastor. He's addressing Baptist ministers, the Baptist ministers that he recalls from his youth growing up in Alabama. So we have not met, yet I feel that I know you well enough to call you friend, and so on and so on. And basically what he says is, let's get over our differences and come together over the common cause of saving the earth. And would that it were so simple. Bridges are hard to build when people begin from places that don't meet in the middle. But okay, let's leave it at that for now. And again, happy Earth Day. Good luck delving into your final report project and or review or dialogue or whatever you're going to do. And I'll talk to you soon.